NYC nurse. She tried to steal the city bike.
So the dude paid for it. The white lady walks up and says it's hers. He's like, ma'am, I just paid for this. She starts putting on the show.
Crying.
Help me!
My stomach.
She starts crying. Yeah, she's wilding, bro. She starts fake crying tears.
Ow, ow.
Don't assault me. White women have, and they've known this for years, how to weaponize white tears. The funny part was the nigga that was recording it was ignorant as hell.
Ignorant.
That little nigga, he was like, yo, fam, shut your dumb ass up. What happened to your tears? You was just crying 2 minutes ago. Now your shit gone magically? Yo, son, get this bum ass. He was wilding.
Yeah.
Can we talk white women tears for a second? Like, fellow white women, were you taught to cry when you're in trouble? Were you taught either intentionally or through other women who modeled it for you that you're supposed to turn on the waterworks when you're in trouble? This commenter says, I have always believed white women are taught to cry when they're in trouble. And I find this really interesting because as a white woman, I noticed this dynamic really young, and not because I was taught to do this behavior. I think because I was taught the opposite, and that made me a little bit of an anomaly. Like, I was raised in a home with really strict German-style parenting, and I was always taught that a display of emotion is a display of weakness, that we never, ever cry, that we never are perceived as emotional. We should always be very rational and calm. Obviously, I know that's maladaptive, but I never dared cry in public as a kid. I definitely never used tears to manipulate people because I was taught that that was a sign of weakness. That if I couldn't rationally stake my case and I couldn't convince someone through my words, I had no business trying to manipulate them with my emotions. And that was not the norm in my cohort of white young women. And I always bristled at and found it really infantilizing to watch other white women turn on the waterworks when they got upset. And again, I realized my pendulum swung really far. I try to teach my kids that they can have healthy displays of emotion and there's nothing wrong with needing to show your feelings. But there is something wrong with weaponizing your feelings to try to get what you want. There's something deeply insidious about turning on the waterworks in order to manipulate other people or get other people in trouble so that you can avoid the consequences of your actions. So if this is a skill, and I think it is a skill no matter how toxic it is, that you as a white woman learned, I'd love to hear about how you learned it, how you unlearned it. Did somebody model it for you? And when did you realize that, like, this is not the way to be and that it is a really toxic way of trying to control the situation?
White women's tears are dangerous, and considering that it's Bobo's birthday coming up, I'll start with Emmett Till, who wasn't the first victim of white women tears. But thanks to his mother, he is the most widely known by sharing his mutilated body with the world. This woman, Teresa, accused a young black boy, just like Bobo, of harassing her in a store. Luckily, there was video evidence showing that he did nothing. By the way, this is the girl that accused Bobo of harassing her. Her name is Caroline Bryant. She's still alive today, so feel free to beat her old ass if you see her. But historically, why are white women like this? It's because they are oppressed by their gender and privileged by their race, which means that they are privileged without power. White women slave owners had no powers, and they had to watch their husband control the world and make little black babies. They took their power out on the less powerless slaves. But then slaves began to get their own power, being desegregated, being equalized. 60 seconds is not enough time to fit everything in, but look at this. I would be so embarrassed to have them as ancestors.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Teresa.
And I'm Scholar, and if you're new here, welcome to Sistalk React.
Today we are diving into a topic that keeps showing up all over social media. Yep, white women tears.
So grab your drink because this is a hot topic. So here's what's funny. Every time something goes down, whether it's a confrontation in public, a social issue, or even a TikTok debate, somehow white women tears become the headline. Like, girl will start an argument, and the minute she's called out, boom, tears. And suddenly everyone's like, oh, don't be mean to her. She's a good girl. Like, it's like tears become the Wi-Fi password for sympathy. And don't get me wrong, crying isn't bad. We all cry. I cry, you cry. And when food delivery is late, we all cry. But when those tears get used to dodge accountability or shift blame, that's when people start side-eyeing.
Before we go deeper on this topic, let's first of all see how people reacted on these white women tears. Then we'll come back with our full commentary at the end of the video.
And if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel,
kindly subscribe for us. We really appreciate if you do so.
Okay, white women. Let's talk about white women tears and why emotional regulation is ally work, is anti-racist work. So the first thing we need to understand about human behavior is that when someone's witnessing an interaction and they don't know every person in that interaction personally, they rely on stereotypes to understand what's going on. And that's a totally normal and natural thing that humans do. It's how we make sense of the world. But it does become harmful when those stereotypes are harmful. The other thing we need to talk about is called the drama triangle. And this is a framework that was proposed by a psychologist named Stephen Cartman in the 60s, and it's still really applicable today. It talks about the 3 roles that people get cast into in these types of dysfunctional interactions, and it can be really helpful to understand what's going on. So the first role is that of the victim. This is the person who is perceived as having been wronged. The second point of the triangle is the persecutor. It's the person who is perceived as having wronged the victim. And then the third role is the rescuer. It's the person who swoops in to save the victim from the persecutor. And so when we, as white women, are having some sort of public interaction with a Black person, whether that's in person or online, and we begin to cry, regardless of our individual reasons for crying, we'll get to those in a minute, but they don't matter here because it becomes bigger than us. When we begin to cry, we have automatically cast ourselves in the role of the victim, regardless of what our intention was. And if we are the victim, then the person who, quote unquote, made us cry is the persecutor. And it's way too easy to cast Black folk in that role because we have these cultural stereotypes of the angry Black man and the angry Black woman. And so now we have a victim and we have a persecutor, so there's going to be a rescuer that swoops in to save the day. And this is where it becomes dangerous because we give a lot of leeway to these heroes that swoop in to save us from our alleged persecutors. And so this is the work that we have to do, to be able not to cry when someone challenges us, when we're uncomfortable, when we're told no or someone sets a boundary with us, when they use words or phrases or tones that we don't like or make us uncomfortable. And these are the things we have to tackle personally because the reasons that we cry are personal to all of us. A lot of us get really upset when someone says no or sets a boundary because we're not saying no and we're not setting boundaries in the situations that we need to be setting them in our own lives. We get upset when we perceive anger from someone else, regardless of whether they're angry or not, because someone else's anger in our past was dangerous to us, whether emotionally or physically. And we get upset at someone's tone or the words that they use because at some point in our lives, our tone and our words were so policed. And so these are the things that we have to tackle individually in ourselves so that when we're having some sort of public interaction, we don't become so overwhelmed that we begin to cry, because then we get cast into these roles and no meaningful dialogue can happen. And so if you realize that you've done this in the past, it's uncomfortable. You may not have meant to, but it still happened. And there can be guilt and shame that come with that. And those are things we have to learn to sit with too. But when you know better, you do better. And the best apology you can make is to actually change your behavior, to process those emotions so that we don't do this again, so that we really do better.
One of the scariest things you can encounter as a young Black man is the tears of a white girl. I've experienced this multiple times, and I'm telling you, you never want to be in that situation. I've had multiple girlfriends and gotten arguments with them to the point where I feel like if someone's getting too emotional in my space, if things get too heated, I just want to be left alone. And I've told multiple white girls to just leave my house. And you know what they tell me every single time? No. I don't know what it is about white girls specifically. I notice in multiple other races this never really happens, but white girls will look you dead in your face and tell you no. And I've had multiple of them stand in front of my door and try to physically stop me from telling them to leave. They won't let me open the door. They will trap me in my room, trap me in my house. And as a Black man, you have no idea how to navigate that situation. Because what do? Push you out of the way? Or do I call the police? Either way, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a great scenario for me. So I'd rather just avoid it in general. And I'm letting the young Black men out there know that if you're ever in a situation like this, stop talking to that girl. You need to leave her alone. If you need to call the cops, call the cops. If you ask enough times, she will eventually leave. But it's going to be tough. Just stay strong.
So I had a lot of white people in my comments asking, what happens if I cry after being called out for a racist remark or microaggression? And what happens if I'm super emotional? So let's get into it. I'd first like to pose a genuine question to white people. Why are you crying after being called out? Take a minute, think about it, pause. Now that you're back, I'm gonna guess that you're crying probably because you're feeling a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, probably a little bit of anger at yourself, maybe some sadness. Yeah, like am I somewhere on the base? And those are totally valid emotions to have, like 100%. Like you can have those emotions. It is simply none of our business. As people of color, after you heard us, it is literally none of our business what emotions you're feeling. And you have to work that out on your own. What happens after you commit a microaggression or you make a racist remark? Us as people of color, we're hurt. We're human, so we're hurting and we're in distress. And what we need you to do is to listen to how you harmed us and need you to listen to how we are doing. And you just need to shut up and listen that whole entire time. And what we're not gonna do is center how you're feeling in that moment after you've hurt us. And what happens when you start crying is that you are letting us know that you're feeling guilty, sad, angry, any of those emotions, and suddenly you are centering yourself, and this conversation can go no further. Because what happens when you're crying is you're not listening to us. You are feeling your emotions in that moment and you're working them through. And you can do that on your own time, but not while we're actively hurting. We are in distress, and when you are crying, you're not listening to our needs. You're not tending to our needs. You are tending to your own. And you are doing that in front of a person of color, and you are taking up space. And now they have to take time off. We have to take up time off from our hurt to listen to your tears and your crying and your sobbing and your whimpering. And it is pathetic. And it is so harmful because you're letting us know that you feel like your emotions are more important in that moment. I don't care what your thoughts are. I don't care if you're like, no, I care about emotions. No, because once you start crying, you are centering your emotions. You don't care about us. I know a lot of y'all are like, but I get super emotional. I cry over little things. Like, how can I control this? Suck it up. Suck it the fuck up. Trust me, you can. I've had to do it. After microaggression and racist remark, I've had to suck it up while I watch white people cry because they feel bad that they've hurt me, but I didn't even get the chance to cry about how hurt I was. It's not okay for you to start crying, because why is your hurt more important than mine? Why do you get to process your hurt after you hurt me? It's not okay. Comments like these make me genuinely concerned because y'all are aware that your white tears are damaging and dangerous, but you guys would still cry. And if you can't take responsibility for your own actions without crying, don't be around people of color. Don't put us in harm's way.
White woman tears are so goddamn dangerous, dude. This woman volunteered to go compete at the punching competition with the best punchers in the world and then got mad that she got punched. And because she can't fight, a cisgender Algerian woman is now being transvestigated by millions of people. And because this white cop threw a tantrum, we now have to go through weeks of discourse about how, hey, this woman isn't trans. Even if she was trans, it would be fine. Biology isn't as simple as you were taught in 3rd grade. And hey, isn't it a little bit weird how non-white women keep getting accused of being men simply because they beat white women in sports or in anything? It's like that one saying, the purpose of racism is distraction. You have to keep going back to prove the same exact point over and over and over again. It's why the Chinese team at the Olympics gets drug tested so often, despite the fact that they have been caught doping at a much lower rate than teams like the United States. It's just dumb and annoying, and I hate how easily these narratives are spun and repeated and discoursed about, even if the entire premise is categorically false.
White women crying when they receive any sort of criticism from women of color is fucking racist. Because white women will sit there and use their tears as weapons against women of color to absolve themselves from any sort of guilt, but also to silence women of color. And this white damsel in distress narrative is not only racist, but it is also lethal. White women tears only helps uphold white supremacy.
This white woman tears trend that has been going around on TikTok recently is like really gross. So it is apparently a trend on TikTok at the moment for particularly white women to film videos of themselves pretending to cry, and then when the beat drops they suddenly show that they were just faking the entire time. And there have been many POC creators on this app that have already outlined the issues inherent with that, and how white women's fragility and victimhood has historically been used to target particularly black men. But the thing is, white women participate in trends like these and then turn around and wonder why people of color don't trust us, and wonder why people of color have so many criticisms about feminism and white feminism in particular. This is exactly why. Because we participate in trends like this showing no understanding of the context of our actions and their consequences. Historically, white women have always pushed people of color aside in our activism in order to further our own interests at their expense. We have not shown ourselves to be worthy of trust, and this is just another example of that.
I know people are gonna get on me about recording myself while I'm crying. I don't freaking care. I need you to know that Charlie Kirk being killed was not because of politics. It's because he fought for the truth of the Bible. And that is the biggest issue nowadays, is there's so many Christians who still think that political issues are not Christian issues, and it's just not the case anymore. It is about, do you believe that a baby should be able to live? Do you believe that somebody should be able to kill their child in the womb? Do you believe that when God made someone male or female, that is how they are meant to be made? That they are meant to live that way? Or that children should be able to be mutilated to become a different gender? That is what it's to at this point. That is what Charlie Kirk was talking about. He was talking about transgender things when he got shot and killed.
I watched it to the end thinking that maybe she was just acting or putting up a show or something. But this girl was for real. And then I looked in her eyes. She has that dead eye pick me. That, Fox News eyes. And I'm sorry. The same baby that, if somebody gripped that baby, Charlie would have said that baby needed to push that baby out. Mutilation. I'm sorry, the privilege of being able to mutilate yourself by choice compared to the children in Gaza. Abortion rights. No, seriously, the privilege in which she's talking. She just, everything she listed was privilege on privilege on privilege on privilege. Now lying again as if, no, we don't know that is the last words were violence. Like, I don't even think she watched the show. I don't understand. What is this? What is, like, oh my goodness, see. I'm waiting for that black person that will come on here and start crying stupid cry. I will give you a reason to cry as a black person if you come up here and you're crying stupid cry. The amount of people that have died, the amount of people that are still dying, but you did not set camera. A white straight man now dies all of a sudden. That is how you know that if slavery was happening today and one of the slaves killed their masters, you say, oh boy, you had a child and family. That is why they gave you the Bible. That is why they gave you the Bible. Talking about some Christian persecution. This is the thing about Christianity and war and government. Christians are like sleeper agents. They've attended fellowships every week, every time, hearing these certain things. When God asks you to come to war and fight, or you'll be persecuted, everybody else is evil, everybody else is this, all of a sudden, things that don't even concern you, you center yourself. You center yourself. Things that does not even, like, look at everything she's listing out in her fancy room, in her beautiful room. Never had to suffer a day in her life. Or even if she has had to suffer, cannot be as much as some people have had to. Even me that have suffered, it cannot still be as much as people have had to. The privilege the two of us even have, Seth.
No, the reason people talk about white women tears isn't about race alone. It's about power. Historically, those tears could literally change outcome, even put people in danger. That's why it's emotional for some folks. It's not just crying, it's crying with the consequence.
Wait, but Also, let's be honest, not every tear is fake. Some people really do feel bad or overwhelmed. The issue is when the tears center the person causing harm instead of the one who got hurt. You can feel sorry and still take responsibility. Both can exist.
My thinking though, some people take advantage of their tears. They know that when I cry, I get something. It's not that like every time you have to cry to get something. Remember, everything that you do has consequence. And I don't think you have to take advantage of people through your tears, because eventually you may end up in a big trouble with it.
So can we call that victimizing yourself? And we can also put it in a way that we can call it privilege. For example, there's white privilege, there's a black privilege, there's privilege everywhere. And when you get in yourself in a situation whereby you know you can get away with that
Something, yeah.
situation, tears become your main objective. And when you cry, you tend to think, I mean, they'll understand me. I'm just a baby girl, you know? And you just get away with it. For example, you're being attacked and you're the one who caused all that trouble. And then when people start coming there and they see there's commotion going on and you know you're the one who was in wrong and you tend to start crying for people to sympathize with you, then that's weaponizing tears, right?
Yeah, I think we should use tears where necessary. You know, not like everywhere you have to use tears.
So should we use tears only in barriers?
Not really. You know, there's so many types of tears. There is happiness tears,
Heartbreak tears.
you know. So use your tears well.
Exactly. I saw a certain video of a white lady and a black man. I think that man was her boyfriend or something like that. But anyway, that woman told that guy, you know, even when police come, they'll tend to sympathize with me more than you. I wouldn't put that as racist, but come on, that was so clear. She knew people will just be on her side and not that black guy. And to that point, even that guy can get jailed, beaten up by people, with only what? Weaponizing tears.
So guys, what do you think? Are people being too harsh when they say white women tears? Or is there truth in how it plays out?
There's a lot of truth in it. Come on, don't use your tears in every situation. But anywho, credit goes to all the respective owners of the clips and content used in our videos. Your thoughts and perspective made today's work possible.
And if you found this video helpful and you really want to see more of this, kindly give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe for us. We really appreciate if you do so.
Yes, and finally, remember, don't cry in every situation.
Yeah.
Man up.
See you in the next video.